9:14 a.m. news and views on Salam Media, and we are now going to be talking with Matthew Parks. He is the COSATU Parliamentary Coordinator, and of course, a big march happening tomorrow. It's a march to the Union buildings, and of course, it is the fifth Global Convention of Solidarity with Palestine, and that's what the march is, in fact, centered around. Matthew Parks, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Matthew, are you there?
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, I think there's a bit of a delay. Nice to be talking with you once again. Talk to us about the significance of this fifth Global Convention of Solidarity with Palestine. And of course, out of that emanates this march, which is happening tomorrow to the Union buildings.
Yes, so no, it's part of a series of activities in South Africa and across the world in support of the Palestinian struggle, to show solidarity with the people of Palestine who are struggling, and also to keep the spotlight on the real human rights abuses, the war crimes they're experiencing, and to try to put pressure on the international community to intervene to bring a ceasefire and to bring a return to the negotiating table by all parties.
Um, if anything, I mean, we've seen mass protest action all around the globe, intense protest action. In terms of scores and scores of people coming out and showing their support for the Palestinian struggle. If anything, it seems to have just intensified the horrors being perpetrated on the Palestinian people. What do you believe needs to happen next to stop these atrocities, to stop this genocide?
So look, this conflict has been going on for 75 years. There's been
Sure.
75 years of ups and
Mm,
downs of conflict in different forms, with innocent people being killed, women and children being killed. And the politicians have made it worse. They've sought at every opportunity to collapse the space for negotiations, but the only solution is to return to the negotiating table and for parties to engage in good faith and to come with an option. And you really have two options. One is a one-state solution, but a one-state solution implies one person, one vote, democratic rule. Or you have a two-state solution, but a two-state solution also has to imply two viable states which can live in peace and security, integrity, and so forth, and be viable economically. So those are the two options, and the parties have simply just to return to the negotiating table and accepted that. But the cycle of killing each other, bombing each other, slaughtering each other, that's not going to resolve anything. It's just going to perpetuate innocent people, like we're seeing right now in Gaza Strip, are going to pay the price. Why should children have to be bombed and killed
mm.
when this is a failure of politicians to negotiate? So we hope the pressure can help force, and not just people in Israel and Palestine, but that the international community too has got to put pressure on the leadership to say, look, it's enough now. You've been killing each other for 75 years. How much more people need to die? Surely it's time to accept that the only solution is to negotiate, and then negotiate for one of the two possible options. But just killing each other, well, that's not going to resolve anything. In fact, that's just going to see more people, innocent people, dying unnecessarily.
And Matthew, the current situation is not about killing each other. It's a genocide against the Palestinian people. It is totally unprecedented. In fact, I spoke with a parliamentarian last week. He's my next guest, by the way, Ahmed Mansour Sheikh Imam, and he's called this out for what it is. He says it's no longer a genocide; it's surpassed the genocide. It is now the Holocaust. And the very people who were subjected to this, during the Second World War, are doing the exact same thing on the Palestinian people. That's the one side of the story, and then these protest actions, do we believe that we can in fact put enough pressure on governments to come to the table? Because as you and I speak this morning, America, in fact the UK, has sent spy planes out into the Mediterranean, and I think this is in direct answer to the container ships being hijacked by the Houthis. um, this, I think, is just going to add more fuel to the fire. Um, In your view, do you believe that America and the UK should be stepping back a bit? Because with their full support, it makes the genocidal occupiers even more uh, frenzied in their attacks on the Palestinian people.
Yeah. Look, I think for us, the international community needs to stop adding fuel to the fire, you're saying, because we've seen many countries across the world sending arms, weapons,
Yeah,
money, and that really is fueling the conflict. And what you need, honestly, is for people to talk to each other and to agree, which any sole person can agree that you have to have a peaceful resolution to this
sure.
conflict. You can't. There's no amount of people you can kill on any side. You have to find a
Mm,
negotiating.
mm.
Ultimately, the real responsibility does lay with the Israeli government, but the international community has significant influence, whether it's the U.S. or Europe, etc., to put pressure. But I think for us, all parties across the world uh, need to stop sending weapons there and need to use their influence on the local politicians to return to the negotiating table.
You're with COSATU, so you understand labor relations, labor issues. Do you think that it suits the Western superpowers to continue supporting Israel? Because let's face it, the weapons industry is a huge industry. It keeps a lot of Western nations in jobs, does it not?
Yeah, look, I mean, armaments industry always across the world is a big industry. It's always a murky industry, very closely related to corruption, political. I mean, people sell weapons not because they want them because they look pretty. They sell them because they want to use them or
Mm,
use them as a.
mm.
One can't complain when you produce weapons that somehow they do get used. Otherwise, why would you produce them? Um, but yeah, look, I think for us, the international community has influence. They can help to resolve these issues. And there's, South Africa has always believed that all conflicts, no matter how intractable they are, need to be resolved through peaceful negotiations. That's how South Africa's conflict was resolved. That's the role South Africa's played in the continent since '94 in trying to support that, whether it's in the DRC or Lesotho or wherever, or Sudan. Um, but the failure of politicians to recognize that and instead to seek short-term populists. For the case of Gaza, what we're seeing in Gaza looks like an attempt at ethnic cleansing, not going to resolve anything. In fact, it's going to produce another generation of people who will seek revenge. So you're just breeding future generations of violence. Um, and you can
And that's
follow
where,
that
yeah,
if we're going to
Matthew,
negotiate.
I just want to say something. Perhaps that's the reason why the Israelis are killing the children and the babies, because they don't want a future generation to stand up to them. That's the sad reality and the sickening reality of this current situation. Let's come back closer to home, Matthew, and let's talk about that march to the union buildings tomorrow.
Yeah,
Are
so
you
the
there?
march
Can you hear
basically
me?
is by a variety of organizations. Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the march is by a variety of organizations, and as part of this international solidarity campaigns with Palestine, two union buildings by different organizations, and just to kind of keep the pressure, the spotlight on the Palestinian cause, and to keep pressure on the government to try to raise its voice even further, in support of its own calls to ending the attacks on the Palestinian people, and to also put its weight behind some sort of negotiated settlement to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
And we do believe it's going to be one of the biggest marches in South Africa. Do you believe so too? Oops, we have
Much like
lost
we've seen in other
Matthew.
marches in Cape Town and other parts of the country. I'm
Matthew, the
still
line
here.
is very, yeah, the line is very
Hi.
unstable. The line is very unstable. Can you just repeat what you said, please?
So we do hope the march will be successful. The other marches we've seen recently have been quite successful, and the more people who participate and raise their voice, the better. The more pressure it puts on politicians, and the more of a spotlight it creates in the Palestinian cause.
Okay, let's leave it there. The line's very bad. We look forward to talking with you again sometime in the future. Thank you indeed for your time this morning. That was Matthew Parks, COSATU Parliamentary Coordinator, talking to us about the march to the Union Buildings tomorrow. It starts at 9 o'clock in the Triangle at the Union Buildings on Church Street. And there's a whole host of different organizations that will be participating. And we've been told that it's going to be one of the bigger marches here in South Africa, and undoubtedly it is going to make a huge impact. The time is 9:24. News and views on Salam Media, and in a short while we will be talking with Ahmed Manzoor Sheikh Imam. He is the leader of the NFP in Parliament.